Hi, everyone. It's Norman Koshnek here for Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshnek. Yes, I've been a little bit quiet the last few days. I'm preparing for my mother's cremation tomorrow. My mother's cremation is tomorrow at 11 a.m. my time in Sydney. So so I will be dealing with that. I've had lots of preparation to do. So I certainly watched the Australia versus Sri Lankan match. Oh my God, Sri Lanka fell in an absolute heap, and I'm disgusted actually because I think that they made Australia look good. To be honest with you, I'm not saying Australia didn't play well, but I think they did make Australia look good. The Sri Lankan batting was pathetic on a ground that they shouldn't have back to front, even though it was spinning and turning, yes, but they had no commitment. They were playing some rash shots, and Ross and Dickweller batted very well in the first innings, but certainly not the second. But overall, the team is playing well. Mosen, how are you? Your head's. I can see Mosen's there, but he's got a bit dark. Can you hear me, Mosen? He'll come in a second. So, yes. Oh, there we are. I'm already on. I started earlier.
That's okay. I'm glad that you did, because I'm going to. I'm actually out in another place, so I'll probably have to leave early. But yeah, it's interesting. Cricket, as we spoke quite a number of times, that Sri Lanka patches, they'll be good, but we wanted Sri Lanka to be competitive, which unfortunately they were not in second innings. So the test is over, which is shame that Sri Lanka could have been a bit more competitive. As your favorite Travis Head end up getting 4 for 10.
I mean, look. I've got to clarify right up front here. He bowled okay, all right. The point is, though, he was allowed to bowl okay, even though the ball was spinning and turning. The Sri Lankan batters, especially Dhananjaya and Chandimal, these blokes are experienced Sri Lankan batters, especially at home.
And that's the most disappointing part. It's not that they had unexperienced young batting attack. They've had decent batters, and in first inning they were going all right, and all of a sudden they crashed to a sub par total, which is not good enough. But then they had an opportunity to make it up in second innings, and they just crumbled, and they didn't look like that they're going to be competitive at all in second innings. And I know the guys bowled in the right areas and they bowled well and everything, but still it's still disappointing to see Test unfold the way it did.
Look, and again, I'm not disparaging Travis Head, even though I'm getting Paul Newman says I really hate him. Looks like Head's in the team. Look, he's not a good bowler. He did get 4 wickets. He looks. Remember the day Michael Clark took 6 for? Remember that day?
Yeah, in India.
He looked like an absolute champion. Well, he didn't do anything after that. He didn't do anything at all.
No, and that's the thing. It's even more disappointing when this kind of thing happened, when a part timer comes in and cleans up a decent batting attack, and then you go, hang on, it's just not on.
Look, Swepson looked magnificent. Lyon took 9 wickets. Bloody Head took 4. They looked like world beaters, and they were on a pitch that was spitting. I've never seen a keeper, 2 pretty good keepers, Dickwell and Carey, miss so many balls. Just goes to show how unpredictable it was. But okay, having said that, those Sri Lankan batters batted the worst ever. It's the least amount of deliveries they've ever faced as a team. 22 overs. It was disgraceful.
Yep.
Okay, Warner went out there to choose 4 and 6. Yeah, bloody easy when you've only got to chase 5 runs. Anyway, look, Australia have won and they've won well. I'm particularly impressed with Cameron Green. I thought he was sensational. Alex Carey handled it really well too. But Usman Khawaja is like that much above everybody else.
And that's the thing, we spoke about the other day, that the key thing for Uzi is to dominate this tour and then next tour in India. And he started off really well. He just looked way above class than anyone else. The ball was spinning, turning, spitting in even on day one. But he just batted brilliantly. I thought he missed out on 100. So is Green. He just from the ball one, he did not look like troubled. I thought both of them missed out on a big 100 here, but they've shown that they've got something. Green's definitely long term, and Uzi's trying to prove his point, and he's definitely going to be successful on this tour as well. His last, what they were showing, his last few innings, 11 innings or something, he scored 800 odd runs with very healthy average, whereas you compare that with Marnus, he has scored 150 in last 11 innings. So that's a disappointing part.
Look, even though Warner got 20 odd first innings, he looked But I'll tell you what, I know Head got 4 wickets and he's going to stay in the team, but he batted. He got out very cheaply, and he's cut. And Smith's run out. Look, I actually was upset the way Smith got upset. I really was.
Exactly. The way he carried on was
That was terrible. That's not that's not a captain, for God's sake. No. In that first inning, when they lost Warner, Labuschagne, Smith, and Head. They were tottering there, teetering, weren't they? It was thankful that Green and Carey came in. Green is absolute class. Really, there's 2 batters that stand out: Khawaja and Green at the moment. That's Steve Smith is yet to prove to me anything. Okay, Sri Lanka were absolutely atrocious, absolutely crap. And Dennis Chandimal, sorry, see you later.
Yeah,
get rid of him. Sorry, he's had his time. He scored 4,000 test runs. He's done well, but now he's yesterday's news. All right, let's go through some of these comments. Himanshu Mahela saying a spinning streak is not easy for any batsman to hit. It was virtually impossible. What a redemption of Uzi. He's just okay. Cam Green got the man of the match, right? Got 6 more runs than Khawaja. Logically, you give it to that person, but really, I think Khawaja was the stability right to the point where Green came.
I think he started the stability for the Aussies, but I can understand why they're giving it to the young fella to boost him. But Uzi probably for me was the man of the match. Sri Lanka probably they'll stick with these guys for another year, another Test match or so. Probably with Pakistan, but you've got to make sure that these guys capitalize on a good start. They had a good partnerships, good going, and then finished at 200 odd runs. That's not enough on day one at Gale. At any ground, you got to score in first inning. You got to score 300 plus, and that's the batters to blame for. Bowlers did try, and they were going okay, but then it just wasn't enough. So to me, it's a disappointing end to the Sri Lankan Test.
All right. Thank you, Moses. We've now encapsulated a smacking from... We'll get Munchie, who's joining. How are you, Munchie?
Hey, Good morning. Good morning, Moshe. On the road to recovery, still feeling a bit croaky, and my apologies if I have a coughing and spluttering fit. Yeah.
You actually look better.
Yeah. No, I got to touch wood. I've been very lucky. It was a case of COVID. I said it was cold or COVID last weekend. It was COVID. Tested positive on Monday, but I've been very lucky. I've been able to keep on working, although coughing and spluttering, unlike a lot of people that have got it. So just stand back from your screens and you should be okay. Yeah.
Norman's in trouble then.
I've got a damn. I shouldn't say damn. That's terrible. What am I saying? I've got a pretty serious cremation to deal with tomorrow, but it's raining here in Sydney. Now, we'll get to one now to talk about England versus India. We've almost forgotten that India play Test cricket. It's been so long. And Australia's been front and centre, and England's been front and centre. Just before we get to that, though, I'm still maintaining that Maxwell should be given an opportunity to play Test cricket again. And even though Travis Head's bowled like a bloody champion and taken 4 wickets, which annoys the bejeebers out of me. Anyway, really, I think Maxwell deserves a go. That's my thoughts. All right, over to you, Munchie. Give us an update on what's happening with this so-called 5th Test, or maybe 555th Test, really, because it's taken that bloody long to have it.
We can't wait. Obviously, it was an amazing series against New Zealand, although the figures will say it was 3-0. If people want to go onto the BBC website and look for Andy Saltzman, who's the TMS cricket statistician, he's pulled out some amazing figures. I could sit here and read them all off and sound great, but no, it was all his work. He was coming up with figures like this was the tightest series, for example, after the first innings score there's ever been. And then when it came to the second innings, New Zealand was scoring at like 29 runs and England were like 40 odd runs. That was the difference. It was that second innings. The media over here, I don't know if it's come through to other places, have coined England's new approach, Bazball.
We've got that. Yeah.
Which I like. It's fun. And I think what's happened is you've got the new MD, Rob Key, who's a Kent lad, where I'm from, and Chris and Richard are from. Well, live there. So Richard's originally Surrey. But you've got the new MD, Rob Key. You've got the new coach, Brendan McCullum. And yeah, people that have watched Brendan McCullum play know that he's an attacking player. And of course, you've now got the captain, Ben Stokes, who's not exactly shy himself when it comes to playing the game. So you've got these two very dynamic characters. And it just seems to have gelled. And so the approach has been, well, let's go for it. And it was interesting chatting to the players after the third win, when England had to chase down the 290. Apparently Ben Stokes had gone in and say, well, guys, we've got 40 overs. If we can claim the extra half hour, that's going to make it 47. Let's do it tonight. And they're like, what? Yeah. Whereas England, under Joe Root in the previous management, had to chase 290 at Lords and didn't go for it. So, and I think people were seeing this, and whether it is Joe Root or the influence of the coaches on him, he was very risk adverse. So when Jack Leach came on to bowl, straight away, men in the deep, protecting him. Whereas Ben Stokes would put the men, but generally half or three quarters back to say, if you're going to hit Jack, hit him. Go try hit him over the top. And what happened? New Zealand did, and how many catches, did we get on the deep or three quarters, etc. So people like Jimmy Anderson are already saying it's refreshing. They're trying different things. It's very positive, and it's great. Now, New Zealand haven't been on a great run since the World Chess Championship, but they still had their key players, their key batsmen, the bowlers. Obviously, Kane Williamson wasn't firing, but Mitchell and Blundell were brilliant, and the bowlers, Bolt, South, etc., still quality. So it's difficult to determine whether England were that good or not. But this is the test. With India coming through, it's going to be great. We've got some really world-class batsmen, although obviously Sharma may or may not play, depending on his COVID situation. And you've got some great bowlers. People were asking or saying before about, the likes of Stokes and Bairstow are not going to be hitting Bumrah and Shami all over the place like they did the New Zealand bowlers. Well, I don't know. Bumrah possibly not, because he has got a devastating Yorker, but Shami does like putting it in that slot. He's a very methodical, rhythmic bowler, and I like him. He puts it on that slot in the spot roller. But of course, if you're attacking him, and that ball's going to be roughly on a line of length, you're going to go for it. So it's going to be really interesting. Now, we'll see what happens. I still have my issues about England's opening pair, Crawley and Lees. Both of them can score runs, but obviously confidence is lacking there.
And that's
but Lees has been very positive in his approach.
Yeah. Stokes have come and backed Crawley, which I liked, which was very positive of him and supporting Crawley. But as Munchie, you probably agree, they probably give this pair the full summer, I think, South Africa Test Series as well, and then they'll make a call. Obviously, when you're winning, it's easier to carry on with what you've got. But the other thing that I have a question for you is that end for your keeper, because now that Billings in there, if he makes runs, is that end for Stokes? Which I'll be very disappointed, because I like Stokes. His glove work is very tidy. He's very proper keeper. But if they go with that attacking approach and Billy gets some runs, is that the end of Stokes?
I don't think it's the end of Stokes. And I think it was interesting because they had a lot of, because the last test finished early, there were lots of conversations with the coach on the various channels, Sky, BBC, etc. So it's good to get a lot of feedback. And he is very keen on loyalty. And obviously you can see that in the opening pair. Because what he said is each of them, I'll address the opening pair, then I'll come to the keeper. And he was saying that each of the players, they have that special factor. They can score runs. And we've seen that before when Crawley scored the 200 against Pakistan. He can do it. And obviously there's just some technical issues in terms of the ball coming across him. A bit like James Vince, he is susceptible for edge to the slips. So I think McCullum's trying to instill to say, look, we've got your back. You haven't got one test or one innings, and I think you're right, Motion. There'll certainly be a few more tests, and they'll, hopefully they'll come good. Now, when it comes to Ben Stokes, Sam Billings knows that he's come in as a replacement. And Sam, a Kent lad as well, so very familiar to Rob Key and also to Zach Crawley as well. And he's a good lad. He's been around the England squad as well, from the one days and the white ball, and of course he would have learnt a lot from Dhoni at Chennai as well. So he's a very experienced player, but he knows he's come in as a backup keeper. That being said, if he does score runs, then it's going to be down to the coach. But the coach has said, Folks is the best keeper in the country. And McCullum being a keeper himself, you're not going to query his logic. But there is a certain amount of ruthlessness to the England team as well, still, because even after the last test, and you're looking at that squad, I was surprised that Anderson was brought in over Jamie Overton.
Yeah, true.
I would have thought if you're going to rest anyone, you rest Broad and bring Anderson in over Broad. But no, Overton's been pulled out. So that's an interesting one for me. But to get to your question, I think even if Sam does well, Bilbo does well, I still think that the Folks is McCullum's number one. He wants the best keeper there. And Folks can bat. We've seen that. So and I think once Folks has fully recovered, he will come back in. I just find it interesting that when he originally pulled out, it was he had the back spasms or the back strains. But of course, knowing now, and I think obviously if people have had COVID, and I knew I was like last Saturday morning, my back was aching something rotten. And of course, it was purely down to the COVID situation. So obviously he had the back aches, and then they've tested him. That's, you haven't got a back strain. It's actually because of COVID that your back was aching.
Just quickly, just a red alert. We've got Obama Babu has warned us. He's only here for 10 minutes.
Okay, we'll read his comment. The only thing that I would probably add to what you were saying, Munchie, that the refreshing comment coming out of Anderson was that he's never seen the change room being so chilled out, and the way that they've been chasing runs. His comments in the media here have been reported that he's never seen such a positive approach to chase when it comes to winning test matches and whatnot, which is very, very positive feedback for your management. And I always believe Rob Key will probably bring a good change into English cricket. So I think that's a good one. And also the other one, how's JB's being captain for white ball has been received?
It was a no-brainer. You could see that Owen Morgan was on his way out. His form was starting to waver, and he's made the decision. It's great. He's not been pushed out. He's retired on his own term, which is great.
He's a tremendous guy.
Yeah,
great person.
And Butler's come in, and Butler was the vice captain for a long period of time, so that's well received. And again, Butler's not exactly a captain that's very negative either. He will look to go for it, and he would have learnt a lot from Owen Morgan. And England's white ball cricket, there's a good strength and depth there. A lot of the players have learnt from travelling around the various leagues as well. Liam Livingston is coming through now, and tremendous. Who would have thought a player that bowls off spin and leg spin, and bats as well.
Exactly.
I'm surprised his nickname's not Bertie Bassett, because we have I don't know if you have it in Australia, but we have a sweets in the UK called licorice all sorts. So with Liam Livingston batting, bowling, off spin, leg spin, normally people will have the nickname Bertie on that. Bit of everything.
The Banstead boy Richard Vernon wants to have his 2 cents worth here, but not come on. Showers in Birmingham on days 1 and 2. After the weather is said to be fair, early start might mean more moisture. Wouldn't be surprised if England elect to bowl first. He reckons their Indians are undercooked and England will win. Of course he thinks so. Of course
he would say that.
Right, a couple of things on Banstead boy. Sorry, a couple of things on what Richard said. Yeah. And Subhash, I have to keep talking because at any state I'm going to have a coughing fit at any stage, and so I'll put it on mute.
You've got the mic.
Yeah, there we go. You got me going now. As I said, the weather, it's nice and sunny down here in Kent, but Birmingham's 200 miles away, so that's going to change. The toss, there's been some negative reaction to that about bringing the start of the game half an hour earlier for the Indian television audience. Really, half an hour? It's not a big difference. It's not like we're moving it hours. So I think they're making a mountain of a molehill. I think the issue was where people had booked train travel. And so therefore may miss the beginning of the game, which is, I can understand that. But in terms of bringing it earlier and the moisture and things, well, the sun rises at 5 o'clock here in the morning at the moment. So you've had 4 or 5 hours worth of sunshine, hopefully sunshine on the pitch. So potentially there could be some issues. But of course, this year's batch of Duke's balls are a lot softer. They're not holding their shape or their firmness as much as they have in the past. You saw that in the New Zealand series where the ball kept being changed all the time. Mind you, that's probably because Bairstow was knocking the crap out of it each time.
That's right.
But we'll see what happens in terms of whether Jimmy can get the same movement going.
What about the two spinners? India were talking about playing two spinners, and they were saying that because the conditions have been favouring with the bat a lot, so they should go with both Ashwin and Jadeja. What's your thoughts?
I don't disagree with that. If people have been looking at the county championship scores, there's been a lot of runs being scored. For example, Kent versus Surrey. Surrey scored 670 and Kent were 2 innings worth of 300 something, and the match ended in a draw. And you look around some of the other games, so the wickets tended to have been a lot drier, lots of runs scored. And who would have thought Jack Leach would have got 2 fifers at Headingley? And apparently, I need to get the full stat that Andy Stokes was talking about. The last time that spinners got 2 5-wicket hauls in an innings, the last 2 were Mullaratharan and Shane Warne. So Jack Leach to follow that in England. So I think Ashwin and Jadeja is not a bad call.
Not a bad call, yeah.
Not a bad call, no. At the moment, given, obviously we don't know what the pitch is like under the covers, and obviously that would have been aired all morning. So I don't see England doing that because they could get Joe Root to cover.
That's right, yeah.
Jack Leach left hand, Joe Root right hand.
Yeah.
But Ashwin's a quality bowler. Jadeja's a quality all-rounder. His spin in England isn't as strong, but he's still a quality player.
Yeah, and Root can do what Heads did in Sri Lanka. He can do a part-timer, and he's better bowler than Heads anyway. So just
that's true. Yeah.
Norman point.
Can I just quickly ask a question, Himanshu Rahela? Where are you getting that Hazel and Maxwell coming in for Head and Stark? I'm happy if that's the case, or are you just playing with me?
Yeah.
All right. Abhishek Sharma's return. I haven't seen him for yonks. Bowling line of India's 2 spinners. Now, we've talked about that 2-spinner scenario. I think India are. A lot of people are saying they're on a hiding to nothing because this match is a lone test. We have to agree with that to an extent because England have just gone through a bumper series. The team's gelling. It's all in their favour. But that should give India a no excuses attitude. Let's, caution to the wind. For God's sake, Virat Kohli, would you get some bloody runs? I want to see you score big. Jesus.
I'm sure Munchie will say not this test match.
Yeah, no. Well, at least with Kohli not being captain, India have a chance in the toss.
That's true. At least they could win the toss.
Yeah. Well, I think this is one of the positives you have to look at over on the World Test Championship, because if it wasn't for the World Test Championship, this test wouldn't take place.
No, of course. And that's what we talked about previously. If that was the case, 4 test matches happen, all of a sudden the pandemic has hit, you would just go, move on, carry on with the next series and whatnot, and you wouldn't come back just for 1 test match. So that's my thing. It's now, because the championship's up on the stake, India wins this, they consolidate this spot up on the top.
Oh, okay.
Got motions frozen. Yeah, I think England are out of the Test Championship. Yeah, their performances before the New Zealand series were abysmal, and I think the maximum they can get to is about 50% or 50 points, whatever the scoring is. But India definitely, it's very strong for them. They have had, I think Richard was right at Banstead Boyd, that there was a warm-up game in Leicester where the teams are very much mixed around. So in terms about them being underprepared potentially, but these are quality players, and the ball, well, the conditions at the moment are not as green as potentially they could be. So it's going to be more favourable to the tourists as opposed to, say, a May conditions or a late September conditions when the ball could be zipping around. So no, I think India have a fair shout. They are a strong team. Yeah, and I think I think Obama Boo was talking about Shardul or Ash. Yeah, I could see that as well. But Motion was asking about would I play 2 spinners. I see no reason why not. You've got to look at the 3 of them: Jadeja, Ashwin, and Jardel. It depends how you want to approach the Test match.
True.
Just quickly with Ashwin and Lyon. Look, Lyon has just become the 10th most successful wicket taker in all history. Ashwin is 8th. So they've both got some pretty damn good stats about where they're at. But Ashwin, I'm afraid to say, is a class above Lyon. Even though Lyon's been very admirable, he just took 9 wickets with a pitch that suited his ball that bounces. It was a perfect wicket for him, really. Hence why
just the 2 different just the two different kind of spinners. Lyon is more traditional off spinner, as we've known and seen, and Ashwin has got a bit more varieties and whatnot. But they're probably, to me, they're different kind of spinners. But yeah, they're equally good. But at the moment, I think Lyon is getting a little bit more edge. He's really bowling well. The flight that he's bowling to subcontinent pitches is suiting him, and he's getting that spin and bounce. And obviously, that 9 wickets reflective of that.
Isn't it amazing? He's 10th leading wicket taker of all time.
All time.
He would never have, when he started playing Test cricket, even though he did get Sangakkara out first ball that he bowled on that ball pitch, he would never have dreamed of being in the top 10. No.
And I'll tell you a bit of a history lesson that he was our groundsman when I was under-19 coach in Canberra, and we got him to come to Canberra because New South Wales said that he's not good enough to play New South Wales under-19. So we got him a job at groundsman. He was rolling the pitches and whatnot. So doing the apprenticeship in Canberra when I was under-19 coach.
And that's Mosen. I'll tell you now, he's not talking, but Munchie, the coverage of this man in the middle here, Mosen Sheikh, is phenomenal.
Impressive.
Involved in the first IPL with Warner. There he is on the verge of Lyon's career has taken off. A number of Pakistani players have all come through the Mosen Sheikh tutelage.
Oh, don't. On this note, I think I should leave. That's enough.
But okay, look, I'm not discrediting Lyon's bowling. He's bowled exceptionally, but he would never have dreamed of being the top 10 bowler of the world.
No. Even if you talk to him now, you talk to him now, he will still say that I'm still living the dream, because he would never have thought, guy coming from young, and all of a sudden being in top 10 all-time bowlers. It's amazing achievement.
Well, Brendan Lyon, his brother, is a really good friend of mine. We knock about. I've known him for years, as well as a guy called Jacob Boyle, who's a great mate of Nathan's. And there's other connections to John Young. Sorry, not John Young. A guy, John Dunk, who I've played cricket for years, actually coached Nathan Lyon back in Young. So I've got this real close-knit connection to Lyon as well. I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky. I think
Where does the nickname Gary come from, by the way, please?
Gary Lyon was a footy player.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So when what's his name was keeper, because he's come from Melbourne, Matthew Wade. So he started calling him Gary Lyon because Gary Lyon was pretty good in his trade. So yeah.
Well, he didn't call him Gary Lyon. He just called him Gary.
Yeah. Gary. Yeah. True.
So it was an inside joke, kind of.
Fair enough. Guys, I've got to leave. Thank you very much for having me. I'll probably
Thanks, Mohsin.
Thank you, Munchie. Thanks, Norman. I'll touch base with you guys tomorrow, summing up
day
1 and start of day 2.
No worries. Thanks, you,
mate. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Yeah, Mohsin. There we go. I can't be much longer myself for a Norman, sorry. Yeah.
That's right. Just quietly, Mosen's got a connection to Sri Lankan cricket at the moment. They're after him. His level of experience, and you've heard him talk much. His knowledge is
respected,
incredible. A good friend of mine too. So, okay, just on England for a moment. Now, England are almost expected to win this based on what's going on of late. But do you think it's going to be that simple? Do you think India? No.
No, the media hyperbole will be, England are on a cruise now. Bazball is the be-all and end-all. Besto's going to whack it. Stokes is going to whack it. Root's going to score 300. But that's our tabloids. Yeah, they're always like that. They'll knock you down. They'll build you up. As I said earlier, New Zealand was a tight series, although it says 3-0. After the first innings in each game, they were very tight. I think when it comes to India, this is another test of the ability of the management team and also the players. If you look at the squad that India have got, it's a very strong squad. There's quality batsmen, there's quality bowlers. I don't see weak links there. Now, you could say, yes, that they're potentially undercooked, but yeah, these are still quality players. And some of the players have been playing in the county circuit anyway. So, yeah, and been performing well. if Peshawar gets picked. I know he's been scoring lots of runs
Well,
as well.
that's the question I was going to ask you, actually.
Yeah. So it's these are still quality players, and the conditions at the moment, the pitches are relatively dry. We've not had a lot of rain, or certainly where we are, we've not had a lot of rain. And so, therefore, they would favour a more batting style. And this is why I was saying about the two spinners. I don't discount it. Whereas in the past, I would have said, no, you only have the one spinner. I see no reason why not to have two. So I think this is still going to be another tight game. I still consider England slight favourites. But if India win, I'm not going to be I won't be too unexpected about that, because they are a quality side.
Now, okay.
I did see a comment coming through earlier. Sorry, I missed it coming through, and it was slightly a sad comment. And this is potentially the last time that Kohli and Anderson will be going into battle together.
It's quite special.
Yeah, and I think that's very sad, because these are two great players. I know Kohli's had a bad run recently, and he's still a quality player. And I know they've had their tantrums together, but I know that there's a lot of respect between the two players. So I'll look forward to that battle later on.
I'm just getting people making comments on Facebook Messenger here. But look, there's several factors. I really like the way Pakistani batsmen go into county cricket, and they do really well. And I think Indian players are now learning that and doing more and more of that. Hence the Pujaras and the like. But I think someone like Kohli should be spending more time of late. I don't know. He could have played a lot more of the season.
No, I know he could have played a lot more, and I know a few years ago, or prior to one of the tours, he had an agreement to come and play with Surrey, and everyone was really excited about that. But I think he had a back injury at the end of the IPL, which had to curtail that particular transition. Because I know he was looking forward to it, Surrey was looking forward to it, and I know a lot of people would have wanted to see him play. But yeah. The English county game has had Indian players in the past. Kent had Rahul Dravid for a period of time, and he was welcome. Tendulkar was the first overseas player in Yorkshire. Now, for those people that weren't familiar with it, to play for Yorkshire, you had to be born in Yorkshire. And then for an overseas player, Tendulkar, I'm pretty sure he was the first. It was an amazing achievement. And obviously, Ashwin's played as well. So, and I think part of the problem is it's the IPL. Because the IPL is such a tough period of time. There's lots of travelling, there's lots of games, and then you're almost coming out of the IPL straight into the English county game. You play that until September, and then you're starting to prep for the winter tours, etc. So the players need a break. As a batsman can probably keep playing, but as a bowler, you need to have a break. And it's unfair, certainly, like someone like Kohli, who the pressure's on him all the time. So therefore, I need some time with my family. I need a break. So possibly why he's not played as many county games as people would have liked to see him.
Well, but both Butler, who's had a family, there's children. Obviously, Kohli's in the same boat. There's a trend there. I think even though Butler's now back into the fray, he had a little bit of a lull, didn't he, for his family? So.
I think it's very difficult, but of course, I suppose the families understand that you have a narrow window for earning as much money as you can to then support the family for the rest of your life, and it's how you manage that.
Yeah. Look, I think I'm just coming.
Sorry.
It was a fantastic series last year, as you remember, and even though it's a one-off and it's rather disjointed, it's still as exciting as hell.
Sorry.
So I was going to say the Australia-Sri Lanka match. Richard Vernon is saying England will bowl. He told me. He's saying.
That depends who wins the toss, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, toss will be in about 10 minutes. Yeah.
No, they're just tossed now.
It's a toss now, is it?
Because it's just happened now. So England
and they chose to bowl. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So that means they've taken the fact of the conditions as what Richard said, that England won the toss and elected the bowl. So that means that, I think you would argue that would favour England because of the conditions, as long as the Broad and the Andersons and their way goes in what they normally would see as their favour. But this is the acid test for India. If they can survive early, now we're going to.
It's going to depend on the cloud cover at Birmingham, because we always say look up, not down.
That's it. It's a famous saying, you guys.
Yeah. I know Geoffrey Boycott would always say, yeah, you win the toss, you bat first. If it looks slightly green and overcast, you win the toss, you think about it, and you still bat first. But yeah, he's a great opening batsman, so that's why he would do it. But this is obviously Stokes is now the more attacking batsman or attacking captain. Perhaps, yeah. I'm looking at the weather conditions here, and if you're playing down here, you'd be batting. Yeah, it's a few fluffy clouds in the sky, and that's just about it.
But then what Ben Stokes is saying is, we've done pretty well of late chasing, but the toss was dictated by the overheads, says Ben Stokes. The fact is that he sees what he's, and that's true against New Zealand. They very often bowling first, weren't they? Toss or no toss, and they won handsomely by batting last.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the atmosphere in Birmingham. There is a large Indian community up there. And the Holly Stand is notoriously rowdy, especially late in the day. So I'm expecting a great atmosphere, as long as we don't have any of the scenes that we had at Headingley, where we have supporters fighting amongst themselves, that's just alcohol taking over. So yeah.
Now Jasprit Bumrah's just spoken. It's a good feeling, a massive achievement, obviously being captain. Jara's opening, and no Ashwin is interesting. It can't be better.
So they've gone Shardul.
Yeah, it looks like they got Shardul in. So it can't be better than this. We're very excited, very happy with the preparation. Wanted to get used to the English weather at Leicester, just the mental aspects. Pujara will open in Rohit's absence. And actually, there's another change. Nagraj was spot on with sorry. No, that was some of the comments. Hang on. No. So there, it looks like we've got Bumrah, Shami, and Thakur are the run-up three.
Right, I've just got the pictures coming up now. Well, it's not that overcast there.
Really?
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, no, interesting decision. Yeah.
Well, I mean, now I'm more intrigued about Pujara's resurrection here. Has he been playing well in county cricket?
Yeah. Early doors, he knocked up quite a few runs. Yeah. I think first couple of innings, 2 or 3 innings, he was hitting 100, 200, 200. He was batting well.
Now, Robert Ems just asking, has Foxtel got this game? I'm sure they have, because Australia aren't bloody playing Sri Lanka anymore. That game's already bloody over. I'm actually really disappointed with that test match. Really am. It seemed like Sri Lanka just petered away. Would you agree, Munchie?
I didn't get a chance to see any of it. There was no coverage.
113 all out. Travis had got 4 wickets bowling. I'm sorry, nothing out of the ordinary. I
was about to say there's a lot of other issues in Sri Lanka at the moment, and if your mind and your motivation's not there, then you want to be considering your family, your own living conditions, and cricket. You may think, well, okay, I really just want to go look after my family. It's just the economic situation, etc. There, it's just we don't know how much of a factor is on the motivation of the players.
Look, I agree with you. The problem is, for example, Angelo Matthews had to leave the team with COVID. So that disrupted his performance. And obviously, Dinesh Chandimal's come out of the woodwork and he hasn't played well at all. Anyway, so Sebastian got the playing 11 there. As we expected, Lees, Crawley, Ollie Pope. It hasn't changed. Root, Bairstow, Stokes, Billings, Potts, Broad, Leach, and Anderson. That's a pretty damn good side, isn't it? That's a particularly good side.
It's a fair side.
Except for the
Broad was saying he was feeling a little bit leggy after the last test, so perhaps I would have rested him and kept Overton playing, because obviously his batting motivation and his confidence is going to be there. But we'll see what happens. Bowling first gives us an opportunity to get at them, to see if they are undercooked or overcooked. But you're looking at the Indian side here. Thanks, Subhash. Gill, Pujara, Vihari, Kohli, Shreyas. Vihari's been playing county cricket as well. Rishabh Pant, Dijay. That's not exactly a poor side, is it?
No, they're actually. But we have to be quite frank here, and not have. And this seems to be a theme in England with Ashwin. He didn't play in last year's Test series at all, did he?
He didn't, but I think part of the problem was that it was this whole 1-spinner versus 2-spinner. And what does Jadeja give you over Ashwin? Now, Jadeja, #1 fielder in the world, quality batsman on his day, and can bowl. Ashwin,
but hang on, Ashwin, 8th most successful wicket taker in the world. That's pretty good stats too.
I was going to say, Ashwin is a solid bowler. His batting, he has scored Test centuries. and not as agile as Jadeja in the field. So it's depending what you want in your team for the conditions. Yeah.
Okay, now Rowan Coley, who's not related to Virat, I believe, or wants my prediction. Okay, because of the fact that even though India's been there for a while against Leicester and then the like, and they've had a bit of exposure to some of the players like Fahari and as we said, Pujara, well, they're going to find it hard to come into click into gear. If they're given the opportunity, maybe they might come into the game later on. But England are on such a high at the moment, you can't go against them. You can't go against them.
No, as I say, I think England will shade it. But if India win, I won't be unexpected. It won't be a surprise because there are quality players in there. You could say that Vihari is not as experienced at Test level, perhaps, to come in at number 3. But Ollie Pope had never batted at number 3 before the New Zealand series.
Look what he did.
It's going to be very interesting. But yeah, I as I said earlier, I want to see Kohli versus Anderson because the 2 great players, great batsman, great bowler, and each of them will be determined to succeed. We know that just for that almost bragging rights over the other.
I do feel sorry for Agarwal because he's been quite commendable in his performances, and obviously not having Rowan and Rahul, who are their true opening partnership. They did very well last year, as we know. They did sensationally well, didn't they?
Yeah. I just look at the comment there from Rohan. I completely agree. And I said, I don't. If India win, it won't be a surprise. That India are a quality team, and we're certainly not underestimating them at all. Far from it.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, I actually thought the New Zealand England series couldn't be topped, especially the way that Mitchell and Blundell batted. It was just sensational. You knew they were going to do well every time, and they did.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just it was, and I think when we were chatting before the previous day, and I said to them, guys, that's the key thing. We had to get that wicket, and I was scoffed at. So no, breaking up that partnership is key. But you'll have this. There are players that really bounce off each other. When you're out in the middle, they enjoy batting with each other like Root and Bairstow. They can almost instinctively know when the other's going to run. And they're just because they're so used to each other, they'll just score runs for fun, and they did. Yeah, it's interesting if you look at the number of runs that Mitchell scored, in particular in that series, and you compare that number of runs to the other great batsmen that have done the same thing of scoring that many runs in a 3-4 match series. You look at the number of the names that have achieved that. And you're talking, the top best batsman in the world, and Mitchell is up there now. That's how well he played.
And he's matured. You could argue late in his career, and quite. He to me, even the way you fielded at first slip and the catches he took, he was inspirational to the team. He could even be a future captain.
He could be. He did drop a couple, and there was a lovely moment. I can't remember which test it was, but he hit the ball 6 into the crowd and went straight into the beer cup of a lady.
Yeah.
And obviously the ball's come out and the ball was sodden. They couldn't do anything with the ball, unfortunately, soaked up with beer. See, the difference was if both of them had been playing, he would have been licking that ball trying to get the beer out of it. But but
okay.
But it was just say with Mitchell. But afterwards, he then. And people were looking after the lady. They bought her beers, but he then went to see the lady at the game. Somebody from New Zealand had been sent around to say, hang around after the game. And Mitchell went round to see her and make sure she was okay. And that's just to show what a character the man is. Yeah,
class, absolutely. Just a quick question about, and it's becoming a quite a topic on social media, comparing Ben Stokes' career to Ian Botham's career, because Botham was unbelievable, as we all know, especially with the ball in hand and his batting. But Ben Stokes has probably outdone him with the bat at this point in time, in terms of a number of runs he scored. His bowling probably hasn't quite kept up that level, but they're an interesting comparison, aren't they? It's quite an interesting comparison.
And I think the other difference is that it's the leadership style. Botham was a skipper. There was a lot of ego there. And perhaps obviously it was the time as well in the early 80s there. Botham was a quality bowler, and he was a bowler that could bat very well. Stokes is a batsman that could bowl very well. Stokes' bowling is suffering. He's got knee injuries. We know that. And I'm pretty sure, being captain, he's dragging himself through these tests at times, and he has under-bowled himself, and then when he has bowled, he's gone around the park. But I think if you look at the overall package, and I'll come on to that question, Paul, I think if the overall package, Ben Stokes is probably slightly better than both of them in terms of the batting, the bowling, and the captaincy, the leadership, if you wanted to score each of them. If you just say batsman, purely as an all-rounder, batsman and bowler, both of them still edges him. Yeah,
that's well said, because Stokes' winnability as a captain, leading by example, has proven to be par excellence. And
yeah, I mean, you take 2019, but then you take Botham's Ashes. Yeah, Botham was just the nemesis for Australia. It was all like red rag, ball. We're playing the Aussies, right? Sleeves came up. What can I do? Yeah, 81 will be forever in my memory. That was just nothing's going to surpass that. So Cam Green better than Ben Stokes? Oh, that's an interesting question.
Way too
early. At the moment. Potentially yes. Because he's got such a dominant height as a bowler, and so for someone that is probably a good foot shorter than Cameron Green and the rest, as a bowler, just getting that ball rearing up, he needs to get some big scores under his belt early on to start getting that reputation for being a quality all-rounder.
Well, he did get 77 today in Sri Lankan conditions that were diabolical. And that was bloody commendable, I tell you. Now, Robert Ems, Munchie, who do you bring if Anderson retires?
Well, it depends who's fit. Because if you look at, we've got the likes of Ollie Stone injured, Ollie Robinson injured, Jofra Archer injured. See, if you look at it, Ollie Robinson should be that nagging bowler. But what I was looking at was, and I've commented on this before, Robinson I don't think is fit enough yet. Now, I can hardly speak myself, bits skin and fat holding off me, but Robinson, he's a bit wobbly in places. When you look at the likes of a Josh Hazlewood, you look at Matt Potts for England, they are chiselled, solid, muscular bowlers. Even Jamie Overton, he's quite chunky, but he's solid. Robinson, when he comes...
He's grotesquely big. He's a huge.
Yeah, but he's solid. He's solid. He's powerful. That's what you want. Whereas when Robinson comes in, it's almost like boom. It just puts it on a really good nagging line of length. But I think what he needs is not so much bulk up, but firm up. Yeah, so really get some strength, get some core muscles, really do a lot of Pilates, work on that core of his, so that he can then keep going. Because it proved recently that he would bowl that first spell and say 135 kph. But he'd come off for a second spell and that dropped down to say 130, and then dropped down to the third spell to 125. So Robinson could replace Anderson in terms of being that really methodical, economic bowler, but he just really needs to strengthen up.
I mean, Mark Wood's not a replacement for Anderson. He's been in the side with Anderson, to be honest.
Yeah,
and
once again, Woody injured. It's a lovely lad as well. He's absolutely bonkers. Yeah. People have been in the changing room with us. He's just mad as a hatter, and that's what people endear about him. But another fast bowler injured.
Sakim Mahmood, was it?
Yep, Sakim Mahmood. Yep, injured.
He's got a lot of potential. But I really like Jamie Overton. I think there's something about him. He proved it with the bat as well. Mm-hmm. He could be anything. He could easily be. And
there's a lad playing Durham, Bryson Cast, I think, as well. Another rapid guy. I think he's got some South African blood in him. So there's a lot of potential out there. But it's like, who do you replace Jimmy Anderson with? Well, someone says they're the next Jimmy Anderson. No, Jimmy Anderson was Jimmy Anderson. To be a fast bowler, to bowl for that length of time without having serious amount of injuries, to be still bowling I think he's 39, probably 40 later this year, something crazy like that, and still performing at test level. Now, you would say if there's a 40-year-old coming into bowl, you think, oh, as a batsman, I'm looking forward to this. Then you realise it's Jimmy Anderson who can make the ball talk. Yeah, there's
a lot of comments I'm just throwing up very quickly. Your thoughts on the World Cup? We'll talk about that later. We've got plenty of time.
Wokes. Yeah, Subash. Wokes. I've forgotten about Wokes. Injured again. Yeah. But Wokes as well. Wokes in England, brilliant conditions. Wokes overseas still needs a lot to work on. Yeah, Anderson would try and work out how to cut the ball. Wokes still hasn't got that. But Paul, you're right. Can't wait for the Ashes. 2020 World Cup. Come on, I've got Test match against India. We've got Test matches against South Africa. Test cricket, that's the key thing. Yeah,
Oh,
T20 is a nice little knock-around sport. Come on, Test cricket. The 3 tests against New Zealand proved how good Test cricket should be,
that was
can
so
be, and should be. Yeah.
But that's what disappointed me about this test between Australia and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka capitulated big time. 22.5 overs, 113. They played really bad shots. They looked like they just arrived from Australia off the boat, so to speak, without any experience. Not the other way around. And it was just very disappointing. I was disgusted. Only Norris and Dickwella stood up. The rest didn't. Abhishek Sharma's he's back.
Yeah,
He's
I agree.
out of our English foils. He's always been around. Okay, so you think? Well, I think India will miss Rowan Sharma and Rahul. There's no doubt they will.
They're class players, yeah.
I'm a bit worried about Shubman Gill. He's got all the class that's necessary, but he's got to really perform now. He's got to lead the way himself. He just can't be behind other people. Yeah,
Rohan, he doesn't have to tell me. I know that they're up there. England have been awful. We're fighting our way from the bottom. I think we were next to last, next to Bangladesh. We're coming back, yeah. And it's good to see the new management structure. But we'll have to see what happens in the future. And the test will be playing the likes of India, playing the likes of Australia. You know, are New Zealand on the decline, or were they just a poor, or was it just the fact that it was just a brilliant series of the way things happened?
New Zealand would have beat many sides if they'd played them at the same time. There's no doubt about that. They would have beat last year's England side probably in the format. Just quickly, okay. Next year, Ashes, late July, in England. I'm going to be there. I've already literally booked my way there. I'm going to be playing cricket as well. So Munchie, we'll have to get your whites back on. We'll have to get you to oppose.
I don't know about putting my whites back on. Yeah, might have to stretch them a bit, but yeah, get my knees strapped up.
I want you and Richard and Chris possibly will work out some game where you can fit against the SCG 11. The might of the SCG 11.
Well, we'll definitely get together, and then we'll get a round table going with everyone. Because as I say, I've known Richard and Chris for I've known Chris since he was literally knee high to a grasshopper. Was it Richard
first came all in the same location?
Yeah, well, Richard.
I can't wait for that.
Mid-90s, so there we go. Yeah, mid-90s, and Chris was a young lad, as they might say, and we saw him mature into a very, very good cricketer. But don't tell him I said that.
I mean. But I won't time. I mean, quite frankly, you know, against this SCG 11, he's got no chance. He's in some deep trouble. I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to make a point of bowling to him this time. We should get some live coverage. We should go live on StreamYard with the bowling of me to him. That'll be a very interesting viewing for our.
Well, so you and Chris can play. Richard and I do the commentary. Yeah.
Can you imagine? I'm looking forward to that.
Well, hopefully, yeah, because it'd be great to meet you in person. It's always the Ashes. Although England-India is a great series because obviously there's a lot of Indians in this country now, and so the Test matches there's lots of colour and noise, and India are a great Test nation. But the Ashes there's always something special about the Ashes. Yeah.
The Ashes is postponed to June. It's actually. I think it's July, actually. I'm pretty sure it's July, but we'll check on that. Pretty sure it's a July start because that's when our tour is organised. So.
Yeah. My only dislike about the current way that they do the Ashes is everything's so rushed.
Yeah.
It's back to back, and you haven't got this player test. Wait quite a few days, like 10 days or so. The Aussies go and play a county. Then there's another test. So you are having to manage players' workloads, etc. It just feels like we've got 5 or 6 tests. 5 tests. We'll squeeze them into 6 weeks. That's not an Ashes series. That's just machine gun cricket. And I'd like them to try and stretch that out a little bit. Just make it more a proper full summer.
So we have to make sure that Chris plays for the MCC when we play them, and I reckon we're going to get an actual Lord's gig this time.
Yeah, because would you play the nursery ground?
Well, we played the nursery ground, but last time we played this Upper Kumbukta West, and we were very upset with MCC because you know what, it was a bit of a touch up to us because we normally play them on the SCG and we didn't the year before. And I think they said, "Oh well, if you're not going to put us on the SCG, we won't put you." There was a bit of that going on, but this time it was silly. Both sides were at fault there, but this time around, we're actually still gunning for. I think it's day 6 of the SCG test. In other words, the day after, and we're going to play MCC match, which is perfect time because the wicket's there. There's no need to prepare. It's there, and we can just enjoy it. And be a great tactic, I think, to do that. So that's what we're planning on doing. All right. So I've seen Henry Hunt's the Australian, Harry Brooks is the English player. In fact, I invited David Graham.
We have to go in a couple of minutes, Norman. Sorry, I
Okay,
found my
right.
voice.
No
Let me
worries.
get to go. Yeah,
That's right. We're game's about to start, isn't it?
yeah.
But look,
I can't wait, everyone. I hope
what's your
everyone's excited.
prediction? What's your prediction?
I'm still going to say England are going to shade it, and I think it's going to be a bit like the New Zealand thing. I don't see a huge win either side. Both sides have qualities. It's interesting that England chose to bowl, perhaps because they are happy chasing at the moment, or have been very successful chasing. Lords 5 wickets, Trent Bridge 5 wickets. Headingley 7 wicket wins. So perhaps they're saying, well, if we can, I think that perhaps they're saying, well, we can almost chase down anything. So if this is the way that Bazball is going to be, would you rather, and it's an interesting question, isn't it? Would you rather lose a test match fighting to try and get 500 runs in the last day, or draw it, but just see the side batter team bat the day out?
I think we're going to see them try to win, and they're going to lose a few of those matches. But it's going to be admirable the way they do it. Look at the way that Ireland it was a shorter version of the game, almost knocked India off. That was tremendous.
Yeah, 225, 221. Hell of a game. I mean, okay, but you look at the sides. Okay, India didn't have their full strength 2020 side, but still, that's an amazing result there. And Ireland have some good players in there. Yeah, and on their day they could score. That's the thing with 2020. On the day, you have a few good overs and you can win the game.
Just to end with my thoughts, that I think Chris Vernon was sending through in our WhatsApp group about this second 11 or second level of cricket that somebody scored 441. Did you see that?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yorkshire lad. I think the Yorkshire team, the Yorkshire second 11 scored something like 800. He's 20-year-old lad, Alex something. I'll have a look.
Is he a real deal, or is it just a lower level of cricket?
He's not contracted.
Right.
So we'll have to see what happens in other games, but certainly this came through. He was actually. Let me just quickly get the. I was reading it this morning and thinking it did remind me of some of the big games I'd seen in school cricket for India, with some of the crazy scores they have there.
Some kids scored 1,000 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, something crazy like that. There we go. Where is it? Here we go. Alex Finley Bean. There we go. Took his tally to 441 on day 4. The previous highest was 322 by a certain Marcus Trescothick. There we go.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Do you think we're going to
York Cricket Club? Yep. There we go. Sorry.
We're going to see a King Coley century. For God's sake, let's see him score one. Not that England don't want him to do that, but it'd be nice to see him score a century. It'd be a relief.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. He's there. He's smiling, and you want players to finish on a high, and I'm sure there'll be some friendly rivalry. What I liked about the England-New Zealand series, there was respect, rivalry, but it was still done amicably. I mean, there was a point where the ball got thrown in from the boundary during, I think it was the Lord's Test, and hit Ben Stokes and gone off for runs. Where they didn't go for 4 boundaries, but everyone started laughing, joking. Oh no, it's the World Cup all over again, and everyone treated it as such. It was just a laugh. You could see the lovely interaction between Bolt and Stokes.
Yeah,
it is a professional game, and everyone wants to win, but we want to see respect.
I think it's hilarious to say that New Zealand on the downward slide. That's rubbish. They played particularly well. They would have beaten most sides.
Yeah,
they came across the very red hot England side. Okay,
right. So it's the national anthems now. I'm going to go and get myself a cup of coffee. So pleasure, Norman. I'm glad my throat's held out for the hour.
Absolutely fantastic. You added a great commentary. You're a wonderful person, and we're going to see you more often. Okay.
Yep. Thanks, guys, and enjoy the test match. And hope to catch you over the next 5 days.
Thank you. Isn't it wonderful to have a combination of Mosen Sheikh, Munchie, which is Marcus Lawrence, both very learned people, great experience, great knowledge, adds a lot to the show. So So I've got a question here for Ahmed Razza, who's obviously Pakistani supporter. They could have excluded Shrewsbury and included Mark Agarwal. Shrewsbury might not be suitable in swing conditions. I kind of agree. I think Agarwal's been dudded somewhat, because Agarwal to me has done enough to keep himself in the side. I think Shubman Gill hasn't, and that's probably where I would have changed her. I would have had Agarwal with Pujara, if at all. And we're also remembering that Rahul and Rohit Sharma were the openers last season and did exceptionally well. So they're going to be missed. They're going to miss. The opening partnership in here is crucial, very crucial. I mean, they've got capability with Pujara and Shubman Gill, but I don't know if they lose those guys early, that could expose India's batting lineup quite considerably, especially on this first day. We're about to see that in 3 minutes' time. Will Sri Lanka prepare a flat track for the second test? No, I don't think so. I think they're going to be. They might select some better players. They might actually drop. Dhanajaya might get dropped on. Certainly, Chandimal doesn't deserve to be there either. They both were pretty ordinary in this test match. And I would put Roshan Dickwella up higher in the order. I would have him opening. Because a batsman like him would give you a great start, like Usman. Really, to me, Roshan Dickwella could play the same role as Usman Khawaja does on these conditions. Did Alan Mullally play in India? I think he did, Robert. Pretty sure he did. Australia's choice round today. They certainly did. The Bastards absolutely smashed them. Well, I still think that Maxwell should be given a chance. They should have added some fairness, let him have a go. Now, Travis had took 4 wickets, but he didn't bat that well. And I still would give. I know I'm calling me a Travis head basher, but no, I'm not. I'm a Glenn Maxwell fan. I want to see him get a chance. Okay. Okay. If Martin struggles again, there's a chance to address and say, well, no. He's not on tour, so he won't play. As simple as that. Aussie starters, Sri Lanka were absolutely awful on that second innings. 113 off 22 and a half out. And Tabasha's, Jason's saying, you wait. To me, Tabasha's, I reckon that there's every chance we'll see something happening there. All right, let's see what's going on here. Now, guys, tomorrow I've got the cremation of my mother. As in, not cremation, she's been cremated, but she's going to be placed in an interment, which is like a burial of the ashes at Waverley Cemetery, which is an absolutely beautiful cemetery. So have a look at that on the system. You'll probably realise how nice a place that is. And I'm pretty proud of that whole thing, to be honest. I'm actually very, very proud indeed. I think it's something of a great thing for me to be able to be a part of. Okay. Warner, Khawaja, Mars, this is what you reckon. Smith, Head, Green, Maxwell. Yeah, there's one of those that going to have to change around. Paul Maxwell will definitely get a wicket as well on this pitch. Sorry, he would have cleaned them up. Travis Head was lucky. That's what saved Travis. He got 4 wickets. Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate it. Always knew with Haunt India. Last time it was Robinson. Now it could be Potts. No, I think Potts start off with a bang. Australia can't drop head. Wait, but even they can't. They basically. Let's have a look here. What's going on with this? The game's about to start. We should be seeing the first overs. Let me have a look. I'm trying to get some coverage up here. Let's get some coverage up. Let's see who's calling me. So Pat Cummins and Travis Head. Okay, we've got some drop boxes here, which is good. I'll be uploading those. I'll just see what's going on. Let's save those videos. We had video coverage of both Pat Cummins and Travis Head have both been given a bit of a Guernsey there. I'm going to pull up some Wi-Fi, otherwise I'm going to be off. There we are. Might be affecting us from certain angles here. Let's have a look. Wi-Fi is always a problem, guys, as you know. Okay. Let's see what's going on from England bowl. Told you, Pujara pitched 10 millimeters grass left on it, very dry underneath. Okay. I'm assuming that means something more in terms of, so we've got a couple of interviews going on there. Yeah, only one instance true, but it was a pretty messy one, to say the least. So let's hope that we see some action. I'm not thinking of the other phone going here. Where's the other phone? I have my third phone here somewhere. Let's see if we can get some coverage on that. Let's have a look here. Let's see if we get some coverage on that. And I'm alone, missed call. Oh, my Foxtel's up and running here. There's so many damn bloody things on it. It's been hard to work out which one's which. Foxtel. They've got 8 messages. What's this? What is this? Okay. Let's see if we get some coverage here. Is Foxtel going to let me on here? We get the old plugs in here as well. Oh, Foxtel's up. That's a good sign. Foxtel up means we can watch some cricket. Buckle Data's joined us. Where have you been, Buckle? I've been on for about an hour. We're going out the middle.
County pitches here have been excellent the last 2 or 3 years. Been good this season as well. Do a little bit early on and spin.
It's amazing. We're here already. We've just seen a series where, that's a good ball from Anderson. The first 4 balls all to Gill at this point in time. But Marani, where have you been? Have you moved? Are you in?
I'm in Indonesia, Norman.
Oh my! You look a bit yellow. Is that what the color of Indonesia?
No, that's the color of the sunlight in my, I don't know, new house. See this, if you can see the view of Indonesia.
That's Jakarta, huh?
Yeah, that's Jakarta.
So where are you exactly? In Jakarta Central or?
In South Jakarta.
How is it? Is it hot? Would you compare it to Philippines?
Yeah, it's a nice, I would say a balmy weather, but it's good. It's how can you say, it's salubrious.
Yes. Now Gill's just hit a beautiful on drive there for 4 off Anderson. Gill has to perform.
What do you feel with Pujara opening? What's your opinion there?
Look, it's okay. He has obviously been playing well in English conditions. That's clearly why. Rahul's not available. Rohit Sharma's not available. That's what they've made. But I would have argued Agarwal should have got to go first. I don't think that Pujara was the future, and certainly not as an opening batsman. Pujara, we know, has been out of touch. He was dropped, as was Rahane. Now he's playing better in county, and he must have been begging to someone because he's jumped over Agarwal, which I thought was a bit unusual, to be honest with you. Don't you?
Okay. So you are so you are saying Pujara should not be in the team, or
Yes.
or you are saying Pujara should be in the team, but he should not have opened.
Well, he certainly shouldn't have opened. Agarwal should be the next opener in the making, right? Because he's proven he's been very good there. So if you're going to bring Pujara back in, it should be somewhere down the order, maybe first, second drop. But he to me, why are we bringing back someone who they dropped literally because of a long-term bad form? It was not. We both know he was hanging on a thread for a long, long time. Okay, he's played well in county cricket, but he hasn't played well for India. There's a big difference between county cricket and your country. I'm sorry, you understand that? I think county cricket, although
and in that county matches where he played well, many others also played well.
Yeah, and I mean, look.
Yeah.
Travis Head can go back and play state cricket. Doesn't mean he's going to play for Australia. Unfortunately, he is. He took 4 wickets today. Oh my God, that was a bit of a problem. But
yeah, today's match was quick. I was surprised to, I just got free. I opened and I see that Australia win by 10 wickets. I was shocked. I said that was quick.
Well, it was the quickest ever that Sri Lanka batted only for 22.5 overs. That's the shortest batting test match they've ever had. I mean, you think about it. ODIs are 50 overs.
Don't you think with the way now England is playing and way other teams are going that test matches would lose their sheen? Like, do you feel that, Norman? Like we are entering a new era of playing test matches?
I think there's an element of hybrid going on, meaning that they're getting insurgents of the short form into test cricket. And that's exciting. As long as it's not a collapse like the Australia-Sri Lanka match. That was just capitulation from Sri Lanka. in New Zealand and England, both teams ebbed and flowed and fought hard and came back, and that was a great match, or great set of matches. So New Zealand didn't deserve to lose at all. Whereas Sri Lanka was just pitiful. At 113 all out. I mean, they were getting out to shots you would expect a person from Australia who's never experienced striking conditions would get out to. Whereas Usman Khawaja and even Cam Green, even Alex Carey, batted with a great deal of distinction on that pitch. The only player that played well was Roshan Dickwell. He was the only one that played well, by far. He played sensationally well. And there's my next question. Sri Lanka, if they're serious, Roshan Dickwella is a long-term opening batter throughout his whole life. He's only been keeping for his country and batting low because of the country's makeup. But he is worthy of being almost like Sangakkara was. The Sangakkara batted at 3 and kept for a long time. I think you could find Roshan Dickwella could open the innings because he's 58 or whatever scores he gets, 21 50s. Almost every single one he ran at the partners, meaning he would have scored hundreds as opposed to 50s if he batted earlier on. And that's the difference. He is that good a player. I know he's playing a lot of improvised shots, but he really is that sort of player. He's an absolutely sensational player. And I've seen him bat without the scoop shots and everything. He just bats beautifully. But he knows batting at number 7, he has to get in there and go for it because he's got no choice.
And the umpiring also, I found, like, I don't know, Kumar Dharmasera, like, many of his, like, they were like plumb LBW decisions, and I saw him giving them not out. Like, that was a little not so called for of Kumar Dharmasena. Did you see those?
Yeah, I did. I certainly did. And I think I've told you before, Kumar Dharmasena, I know him really, really well. He's an incredible man. Very nice, a lot of fun. But I don't want to think he's deliberately doing something at all. But he's probably a bit soft when it comes to some of these situations, meaning that, he's open to speculation. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah,
coming back to the England-India match, let's say Agarwal was in for opening the match, and Pujara was in the team. Who do you think would have been dropped out then? Shreyas Iyer?
Well, oh boy, you won't be dropping Kohli in any hurry, but I'm afraid technically on sheer stats, Kohli should be the one to go. But they're giving Vihari is the new Pujara. They're showing, right? So that's what I'm getting at. If you already got a Pujara like batsman and Vihari, why would you bring yet another one back in Pujara himself? It doesn't make any sense.
There are still many players in the backline also, normally, like Prithvi Shaw. Like, given the current situation, do you think he will get a chance? Like, giving or he has, because given the situation, looks like he won't get a chance for the next at least 8, 9, maybe even 10 years. Like, well,
it's quite incredible. Back before the Australian series, when they had that magnificent series that we saw, the opening batter was Prithvi Shaw. Before the series, he was to be the shining light opening forever, and then fell apart. And just by the end of the series, they're asking where he wasn't even there. He really wasn't a part of anything. So he and the other spinner, who was that spinner? The spinner who fell out of favour.
Kuldeep Yadav, you're talking about.
Yes, they both fell out of favour quite notably, and that's on that series. Actually, they both couldn't get a Guernsey after what appeared to be certainties that they would get in. So it's an intriguing. That there's a problem here with what my problem I see with Indian cricket is that they're too quickly. They've got so many players vying for spots that when they get a bit mixed up with who they're going to put in there because they've got so many choices, and they begin to start exercising those choices one after the other, and there's no continuity in their batting line. Really, that's. Would you agree? Like, you got to have the old style of picking a team, picking and sticking, as they call
it. That way, what I find, like, Dravid is, earlier I thought that why is Dravid giving so much chances, but then now I see the method in his madness, and I do agree that like if you see for the T20 series also, he continued with the same team, many things other also he continued with the same team. So that
He's
was
like
that
he's
was
pick and
something.
stick.
So I think given his experience, maybe he would have come that when a player is dropped without giving sufficient chances, that's not the right thing to do. So it's something like you give a player sufficient chances, like even still not performed and he's dropped. So the player also does not have any kind of animosity. Like he knows, less I got my due chance, I blew it. So I need to work back again and get my chance again. No, not like that 1 or 2 matches and then players are pulled out. That I feel is incorrect. That's where I feel Dravid is doing a really good thing,
Well,
and that really gives people confidence. Also, you don't have that that huge pressure on you that, oh, this is the match, I need to perform, otherwise I'm out. It's not like
yeah.
that. You get a chance over 3 or 4 matches. That's really good.
I think you're right, and I think that's a style of coaching or selection policy that works, and I totally agree. You need it's what you would call pick and stick. When that's what you would call it. That's the term that they put to it. It's called pick and stick. I'm just while we're talking, I'm uploading the interesting interview of Pat Cummins live after the match, and I think they're always great interviews, aren't they?
So
When you've
this
got
Australia Sri Lanka is a 2-match series, right? And it's part of the
yeah,
WTC.
yeah, but it
Okay.
certainly is, and it's unfortunately, it's Australia's just almost play themselves into a WTC final now by winning this match because they got to still play India in India. But what it does, it actually allows India now to have a chance to actually sneak their way in. Not sneak, but does that make sense?
Correct.
Like if they can beat Australia,
Well, it depends on if South Africa like if India needs to get in, then South Africa needs to lose some matches. But South Africa plays Australia, right? In Australia, if I'm not wrong.
yes, they do. When we're gonna smash them there, I reckon. I don't think they've got much hope of getting anywhere there, to be honest. So I'm now meant to be. There's oh my god. There's an interview with Travis Head. Look, Travis Head's just taken 4 wickets. All right, we can't knock it, but he's not a bowler that's he's taken 4 wickets. Select him next match. That's what annoys me because he's meant to be there as a batter. His bowling was just a bit of cream, and on the basis of a ball that just spun like a top. Really, it's not his good bowling. It was actually particularly poor batting. Dinesh Chandimal had a huge gap between he had, and we all know in any.
But Norman, the Sri Lanka strategy of making the wicket and way they approached this game, I found it very, very weird. Very, very weird. Means I don't know what was the coach's thinking. The coach is the same England coach, right? Chris Silverwood, if I'm not wrong, or he's only for the
there's a bit of
white ball.
something there. There's something there. He didn't actually perform that well for England, and now he's bringing the same kind of weird, almost negativity to the Sri Lankan side. Sri Lanka looked very incapable of taking charge. They played a lot of very uncertain, lucky and confident shots. To be allowed for 113. And look, really, Nathan Lyon shouldn't pose any problems for Sri Lanka batsmen. Okay, even though he bought the balls do bounce, they should be rocking back and cutting and pulling it. They all went for this immediate sweep, and which is okay. But if the ball's coming and bouncing, you can't sweep. You have to rock back and pull and cut. Pujara's just hit his first runs. He's hit 9 balls of nothing. And he's just driven a 4. But see, Pujara knows he's only there because Rowett's not. Okay, I mean, unless other batters fail around him, he's not likely to keep his spot. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense a lot. I would agree that I would also agree that he got a good break given just with his county performance. In fact, if I'm not wrong, Sunil Gavaskar also said that he should be able to perform in India. Means in county, I think everybody is performing. That's what was Sunil Gavaskar's comment.
Okay, just to answer this question, if Pujara is meant to be the real deal and be brought back into the side, right? if that's their intention, then if he comes in now and this plays one match and goes again, what was the development potential for that? Why would you do that? Because if he's only going to just come in because everyone else has fallen over, which is kind of what's happened, how can that be a justification to put him back in the side? Does that make sense? There's something a little bit
No,
off.
then I would then put the same logic. What if Ajinkya Rahane goes and plays county next year and he performs well? Will he be again back in the side? Means,
Well-
isn't that, if I was Ajinkya Rahane, I would do that. And then I would ask for my place.
I agree totally. I think it's a fair comment. That's a really fair
But coming
comment.
to the point, see, one thing you should understand, one thing is for sure, Norman, that Cheteshwar Pujara is, if you ask me, okay, as a over, but he's one of the really greatest test match players. He was definitely out of form over the last 2 years,
Long
but
time.
if he genuinely comes back to form and is able to deliver from India, there's nothing like it. Means it's
Yeah,
a good
but not-
bet to gamble on. That's what I would put it. Like, it's a good bet to gamble on.
Okay. If they had the intention of bringing him back in the side on a regular basis, yes. But if he only stays this match because Rohit Sharma's injured and Rahul's not there, for example, well, what does that mean? Okay. Does this mean
No, but
that Agarwal?
but I'll even elaborate on that point, Norman, that I would definitely have him if he performs well, because if you see KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma are like getting injured, or like they are not available half of the year, literally both of them. Something or the other happens with them. It's I know it's not their fault, but if you look at the track record, this is what's happening. And it's very dicey to depend on them. If you know, see, it makes no sense if you are able to, like, it's saying like a car that can run at 300 kilometers per hour, but it can run only half the time, you know. It's not you cannot depend on that. If it runs, yeah, it will run very well, but whether it will run or not, we don't know. So that's not a really good thing to have.
No, I think India need to be very. They've got a riches of players. We know that they could pick another team. They'd be able to handle most of these games. But what they're doing they're losing out on their future development. They need to have players, as we say, pick and stick. The fact that Pujara was picked and stuck for a while and then fell away.
See, KL Rahul, I will agree on that, but Rohit also is not the future.
No, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, he would be there another 4 or 5 years, but now the question also is coming, Norman. Like, what do you think is like future? Do you think 10 years ahead? Do you think 15 years ahead? Or nowadays just think 3 or 4 years ahead? Like, you know,
Well,
if you ask me, the
great
previous,
question.
if you see with England, that's where they faltered. That I felt that they were thinking too ahead, and they were just losing out at the current moment. And if you ask me, that's a really wrong strategy to do. You just think 3 or 4 years ahead, and like, at least for India, I would say there were huge players coming up the platform, and I don't think they have to think like what will happen 5 or 7 or even 10 years from now. That doesn't make sense. That makes sense for teams like I would say, let's say Netherlands, or, you know, where it's not such a huge, where you have a huge talent pool coming in, a huge talent pool that you can tap in, where you really think long term. But for a country like India, now I don't know, in Australia, given the population, for Australia, thinking long term, it makes sense.
Okay.
For England, again, it may, but for India, I don't think that strategy of thinking long term will work, because they anyway have a huge. Doesn't make sense to think so long ahead. You think just 2 or 3 years, and everything. Think on your current form and go with your best team, which you have today. It doesn't make sense to think more than in a 3-year timeline.
I agree totally. Ben Stokes has got it right now. He's picking a
Yeah.
team that can win now, the best team available to win, and that's it. And he's not necessarily only looking long term. He's instilling confidence in the current group that are the best players, and backing them. Like Lees, he's backing. Crawley, he's backing. Leach, he was backing as a bowler. He's coming good now. You know, there's an element that I like about that. I really do. So, so what's your role in Jakarta now?
Well, I've joined a new company, so I'll be working here. That's it.
And did
You can see my updated LinkedIn profile in 2 or 3 days, so you'll come to know.
No, but was it monetarily better for you? Was the conditions better? Was it what was
No,
it?
in multiple aspects, it was better monetarily as well as you can say as a career growth wise, as a change of work wise. So there were multiple aspects which helped me in making the decision.
And would you say that Indonesia is more of an economic strength than, say, the Philippines are?
Far. As a overall, the country, it's far. Indonesia is the biggest economy in Southeast Asia.
Really?
It's a country with a population of I think 270 million people. So it's not small.
No. And is political stand as good as no?
Politically, yes, it is. At least I have been in Indonesia before also. So overall, I did not find it a problem. Like people live there happy. There's not much of like something keeps on happening, but it does not. If you're not involved into it, there's nothing to worry about. Norman, like I would put it that way.
So Suradik Malik saying Wokes or Woods playing, neither are playing. Pat Cummins hasn't lost a match as a test match. Glorious Shuman Gill, looks like he is batting well, batting very competently. It's an early stage. Shuman Gill should be another, or not Dravid, more of a Luxman type. He should be scoring elegant big centuries.
In fact, I actually look at Shubman Gill as a left-handed Lakshman. Sorry, a left, like a Lakshman with some 30% of Ganguly in him.
Although he's a right-hander, though.
Yeah.
He's just hit a 4, and that was a beautiful shot.
I know he's a right-hander, but what I was coming to, he has that, when he does the drives, I reminisce a lot of Saurav Ganguly, especially when he flows with it. And
I agree. I get
Ganguly had that, that step, and then he used to drive. I really see that same kind of movement in him.
Yep, and he's quite frankly quite technically sound. He's got an incredible. But both
him and Rohit Sharma, I've seen they, once they go in there, they really get a little overboard with the pull shots, and somehow the other they both get out with that. Like it's become like though it's their strongest shot, but they will go for every, and one or the other ball won't come at the middle, won't come off the meat of the bat, and they would get caught out. I have seen that happen multiple times, both with him and as well as Rohit Sharma. So that's something, I don't know, how do you overcome that? But it's because it is a risky shot, the pull shot and the hook also, both are risky shots. If it does not come out properly, you're gone.
I'm just curious about punts, and now that Barrett's come onto the scene and batting quite well. Very interesting situation. Another 4. Gill's he's on the 17 here.
Okay, Norman, I'll make a move.
Thanks, bro.
Maybe following on, I'll have more time and will come out for longer. So today I was staying in a hotel for the past week, and today I just settled in the house, so making it up.
Another quick look outside. I want another quick look outside. Show me outside.
Pardon?
Show me outside.
Outside again.
Not many high rise.
No, this is because this is looking towards the south. The high rises are in the middle. So what I'm showing you is this south, like going outside towards the city. So you won't see many high rises here. But from the other side, if I look towards the north, many.
Okay. All right. Well, it's great to have you, Brian.
You know, Jakarta is sinking, right? Every year it sinks by around 8 inches.
Really?
8 inches. I'm not joking. It sinks by 8 inches every year.
Oh God.
And that's why they are shifting. One of the reason I would say that's the reason they are shifting the capital. In 2 or 3 years, the capital of Indonesia won't be Jakarta.
Wow. Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, Norman. Catch you all later. Enjoy the cricket today. Bye bye.
Ciao. So, guys, we've had a plethora of people. We've had, obviously, Moses and Shake. We've had some Marcus Lawrence, which is Munchie. We then had Baram. Buckle Darg has made a comment here. Any comments received from Sir David and Chris Fern? Yeah, they've been very much talking about England conditions being pretty good. Very buoyant about the England side. Shewag, you're type of way not available in the team. That's true. It's a good point. It's a good point. All right, guys. I'm very much considering breaking off now because we've been on for an hour and a half, and I think that's just about allowed us both to be done. So we'll go from there. We've got Travis Head and Pat Cummins on the trail there. We've had this one. We've had this particular channel. We'll just have a look at how it's gone. It's still going, actually. But I'll just have a quick look at the totals. Look at Schumann Girls looking an excellent touch, which is good to see. I'm going to make sure you view, like, and share my YouTube channel, and share a like, and get people to subscribe. Something that I'm lacking a little bit of late, so I'd love you to help me keep moving and moving forward. Let's have a look at this particular one that we're looking at here now. We've got there we go. That's going well. All right, all. Enjoy the test match. India are now none for 27. Australia, of course, smashed Sri Lanka, 1 by 10 wickets. Got them out for 113 off 22.5 overs. We have a situation now. India here are going along quite well. Pujara's just got out. Actually, Gill just got out. That's another wicket to James Anderson. Gill's been caught at I think it was second slip. Gill caught at second slip there. That'll bring in Vihari. Thanks to Australia. Thank you, but cool. It's like James Anderson. Ball, he's played the ball he shouldn't have. Straight into the second slip hands of Crawley. There's someone got out there too. That's James Anderson's just taking Gill. So Gill caught Crawley, bowled Anderson for 17. It's Mr. 10:50. So he played for about half an hour. So that's an unfortunate dismissal indeed. And you'll come in Vihari, which will be followed by Kohli. So we're looking at a rather interesting scenario. All right, guys, we'll talk soon. I've gone for just on an hour and a half. I'll just wait for it to look over there. There's someone coming on the field here who is not as suited. Not a man with brown pants. I'm not sure who that is. But Vihari is certainly someone who's under the thumb a little bit. These two are Vihari and Pujara together. That'll be interesting. Obviously, teams play, make teams play too. I don't know why. So, it's a good question. Good question. So we're not far from breaking this point here now. It's 8 o'clock, guys. All right, we'll see each other tomorrow. Well, I'll be after I actually come back, mother. We'll be actually coming back, having a bit of a lunch, a bit of a get together. Might be the football, but I'll come and stay tuned. So all the best, guys. Take care.